It is Friday around 6 p.m. I am here at the Wynn in Las Vegas. It is packed house tonight. Every single table in the poker room is full. They have 4 10, 20, 40 uncapped buying games. I just took my seat at the must move game. It should be good. It looks like there's a couple recreational players. I bought in for $15,000. Let's try to run it up. Let's go. This is going to be a big one. I take my seat, $15K buy-in, starting things off with pocket jacks. I raised to $100 and it folds all the way to the straddle, who re-raises me to $300. This is a pretty strong play. He could have just called for $60 more and seen a flop, but he elects to 3-bet to a pretty small sizing out of position. I could 4-bet, but this player looks like a recreational player, meaning that it doesn't look like he plays poker for a living. I feel like he's going to be pretty strong here with hands like aces, kings, queens, ace king, ace queen. So I'm just going to call in position and look to see a flop. First 3 cards, 9, 3, 2 with 2 diamonds. All in all, pretty good board for pocket jacks, although we are losing still to aces, kings, and queens. My opponent shoots out a bet of $440. Now, there's just no way I can get rid of my hand right away, but it is still a little bit concerning. He re-raised me pre-flop when he could have just called. Now he's betting pretty big on this 9-high board. I'm going to call evaluate on the turn, which is a 6 of hearts. This card seems pretty safe for me, not an over card to my pair. Flush draw is not completing yet, and my opponent continues to fire now for $500, and now I have to make a decision. Do I want to hero fold my pocket jacks on this board? I don't think so just yet. Do I want to go all in for his last $3,000? I think that would be an overplay. So I think calling is the only option, and I decide that I'm going to call here on the turn, and then if he fires out a huge bet on the river, I will hero fold, just because I don't think he's capable of putting in 3 streets as a bluff, and he'll most likely have me beat if he bets the river. So I call $500, river 7 of clubs, he instantly checks over to me. I could go for value, but I decided to check behind. He shows me 4-5 offsuit, so I show my pocket jacks, and then I realize 4-5 offsuit is a straight. And yeah, my guy 3-bet pre-flop with the 4-5 offsuit, turned a straight against my pocket jacks, and just like that, we are down over $1,000 here, our first hand at the Wynn. This hand is a great example of how my month of December 2023 is going. I'm on a pretty big downswing. I just seem to always have the second best hand. These guys just keep getting there with really weird holdings. Pretty tilting. Moving on to the next one. Cutoff raises to 100. I call in the small blind with pocket 6s. Big blind calls. Straddle calls. We're going 4 ways to queen, jack, 6. Bottom set for us. Action checks over to the initial raiser, who puts out a bet, which I am definitely happy for here. He makes it $230. Now, there is a lot of straight draws and flush draws on this board. My opponent is betting into 3 other people. He should have a pretty strong hand here. Top pair, maybe top 2 pair, an over pair, straight draws, flush draws himself. So I'm not going to slow play this pocket 6s in a multi-way pot out of position. I bump it up right away to $800. Big blind eventually gets out of the way. Straddle player gets out of the way, back over to the initial raiser. Looks like he's got around $4,000 left in his stack. I'm contemplating what my sizing will be on the turn if he does call, but unfortunately, it doesn't come to that. This guy folds, and we take down a medium to small pot. Poker is a very tough game. Even if you do make a hand like bottom set, in order to get paid off, you gotta have your opponent have at least something on that board. Moving on to the next one here, it's blind versus blind. Big blind raises to 150. I'm in the $40 straddle and call with 8-9 offsuit. Flop is jack, jack, queen. He bets out $100, and I make the call. Turn card's a 5. He now checks over to me. I have a gut shot straight draw. On the bottom end here, I decided to just check this one back, and the river card gives me a straight. It's a 10. However, we are losing to ace king and king 9. There's potential full houses on this board, and my opponent now leads out for an over pot size bet, like 2x size of the pot of $700. On this particular board with the 3rd nut straight paired board, I have only one option, which is to call, knowing that I might be losing sometimes, but not this time when he shows king jack. So we get lucky, and poker's just easy. Your opponent flops trips, you check back the turn, you hit a straight on the river, and you win almost $1,000 of profit. After this hand, it's now my turn to move from the must-move game over to the main game, and in all honesty, the main game is not very good. It's basically all professional players who know exactly what they're doing and are very tough at this game. There's a raise by the cutoff to $100. I'm in the $40 straddle and make the call with 3-5 of clubs and flop pretty well on 7-8-8 with 2 clubs. He bets out small, $70, and I call with my flush draw. Turn card gives me a pair with a 3. I check, and now he checks this one back. River card, good for us. 2 of clubs, giving me a flush. I could check over to him for a 3rd time, but I think leading out here is good. And I decided to lead out for a very small sizing, trying to make it look like I'm trying to get a cheap showdown, like a blocker bet here, maybe inducing him to raise. So I make it $120, hoping he'll turn some of his hands into a bluff. Maybe he's got a hand like ace-king with the ace of clubs, king-queen with the king of clubs that he'll want to try to bluff with. My sizing here makes it look like I just have a single pair hand, like a 7. I do think some of his flush draws would continue to double barrel on the turn, so once he checked back there, I don't think he has a flush, definitely don't think he has a full house, and he does raise me to $1,200 with my 5-high flush. I make the snap call, and he shows ace-4 of clubs for the ace-high flush, which is going to beat our 5-high flush. What a sick cooler. We both make a flush. His is higher. Man, poker is just such a tough game. Pretty big cooler there. This session is just not going my way so far. Pocket jacks losing a 5-4 offsuit in a 3-bet pot and then getting flush under flush. We do decide to play the stand-up game now for $100 per player. There's 1 or 2 players that are already sitting before I look down at ace-queen of clubs in the cutoff. I raise to $100 before the button re-raises me to $340. I glance over at my opponent's stack. He's got about $3,000 behind with the $40 straddle. That's less than 100 big blinds during the stand-up game. Cutoff versus button. I think I'm just going to go with my hand. He can have a lot of worse hands. He's 3-betting here, so I put him all in, and he very quickly makes the call. Not exactly what I was looking to see, but it's very possible he could have 8s, 9s, or 10s. We're going to run out this board one time, hoping to hit a pair, a flush, something. The flop is no good, the turn doesn't give me any help, and the river, no good for us. I show ace-queen, and he shows ace-king of hearts. Man. And just like that, we lose another big pot. Going all in for over $3,000 with ace-queen of clubs pre-flop is pretty high variance. But all in all, I feel like it's the right play here during the stand-up game. The stand-up game really changes the dynamics of the game. Plus, I did watch this opponent 3-bet me earlier, cutoff versus button, and then he snap folded to a 4-bet, which means he does have some 3-bet bluffs in his range. Also, it's less than 100 big blinds. It just kind of hurts going up against ace-queen, but if you're going to play higher variance, you're just going to have to deal with the swings, and this has been a swingy session, losing basically every big pot. And unfortunately for me, I cannot win a hand during this stand-up game, so I lose another $800, paying out $100 to each player.
Wait, is it only 100?
I pay myself.
That's I took one.
Alright, so I did something that is pretty tough to do when you're down money. Currently down $7,500, playing 10, 20, 40, running really bad today. But instead of playing in a bad game versus top pros in Vegas, against people I don't feel like I have much of an edge on, I decided to drop back down to 510, which looks like a much better game. So this is tough to do. When you're down a lot of money, you kind of just want to try to continue to play the same stakes and get it back, but I feel like it's just not a smart move to stay in that game. I don't think I'm a profitable player in that game, so dropping back down to 510. I've been running really bad so far this session. A lot of coolers and a lot of hands not going my way. Got a couple more hours left to play. Let's see if we can get it back. Sitting down at this 510 game, it's a $3,000 max buy-in, and this table lineup looks much better than that 10, 20, 40 game. A lot of players who look like they're here in Vegas for some fun on a Friday night. I do pick up some hands earlier on at this new game, but I just lose every single pot. Before looking down at King 9 of spades from early position, I raised to $50 over a $20 straddle. The big blind is my only caller, so we're going heads up here to 5, 6, 7 with 2 clubs. I have a gut shot straight draw. He checks to me on this wet connected low board. I check back, and I turn some more equity with the 3 of spades. I now have 2 overcards, flush draw, and straight draw. Big blind leads out for $80. I make the call. We've got so many outs. We've got to hit one, right? Not this time. Ace of hearts completely missing. He bets, and we are forced to fold. Over the next 2 hours, the straddle's on occasionally. There's a decent amount of action and a lot of big pots, but just none of them are going my way. I'm actually incredibly card dead, basically playing like 10% of hands, which is very tilting when you're down thousands and thousands of dollars. This hand comes up where I raise ace-jack offsuit. There's a button raised to $120 by a Euro Pro. I decide to turn my hand into a 4-bet bluff, thinking that he's going to be 3-betting wide from the button versus my hijack opening. I've got an ace blocker. I don't know. I just go for it and make it around $400, and he folds. We win this pot. It's getting late now. I've been playing for a while. I don't think I'm going to get my money back anymore at this table, so I decide to call it a night. End up racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out. All right, guys, that is it for this one. It is a nice sunny day here in Las Vegas, but it is a little bit cold for me. It's also super dry out here in the desert. I'm used to the hot, humid air in South Florida. I come over here to Vegas and my skin just dries up. I can't take it. I got to put on lotion, chapstick. My nose is bleeding. It's rough times when you're out here in Vegas. But we ended up playing at the Wynn yesterday, 10, 20, 40, and the session went just about as bad as you can have a poker session go. I ended up losing $6,700. Everything just did not go my way. From the very beginning, pocket jacks, I lost a 4-5 offsuit when he decided to 3-bet that pre-flop. I got flush under flush, ace-queen suited versus ace-king suited for, 85 big blinds in the stand-up game. I lost the stand-up game for $900 or $800, so not my day. Definitely was not a fun session to lose that amount of money, but for that game size, 15K buy-in, it's not even 200 big blinds, so, what can you do? While I've been out here in Vegas, I've been playing at the Wynn, and I have a lot of people come up to me and say that they watch the vlogs or, they're fans of the vlogs and all that stuff, which is really cool. I get to chat with people here and there, and one guy in particular came up to me and said, I believe he was from Iowa, and he asked me how to deal with downswings. And I've talked about this before on this channel, haven't talked about it for a while, but I'm actually on a pretty bad downswing this month where I think I'm down around $18,000. For the games that I'm playing, 1025, 1020, 40, that's not that much money, but it still does suck to just be down $17,000 after playing 15 days in the month of December. But some of the ways that I deal with downswings and that I've dealt with downswings in the past and ways that you could deal with downswings are, one, make sure you are using proper bankroll management, which is very tough. I know it's easier said than done, but if you are using proper bankroll management, a couple buy-in downswing or, losing for a couple days shouldn't bother you that much. If you have a big proper bankroll for the games that you're playing and you're losing 5 buy-ins or 6 buy-ins or 7 buy-ins, it shouldn't really take that much of a toll on your total net worth. So try to stay patient, try to stay disciplined, and play within your bankroll. If you're playing 1-2, try to save up more and more money before you are buying in deeper and deeper. Another thing that I do when I'm on a downswing is just take a break. Take 1 or 2 days off of playing poker. I know it's very, very tough to do, and it was very hard for me to do back in the beginning. which was you're losing, you want to try to get it back, you want to keep playing, you're playing late night hours, you're waking up the next day, you're playing the next day tilted, annoyed. Sometimes you just need an entire day off, 1 or 2 days off, just to kind of reset the brain. I've talked about this before, escalated tilt, which is very common when you're on a downswing, when you're tilted from the sessions prior. So you come into this session, you have a decision to make, and you make the wrong decision because you're so damn tilted because you've been losing the entire time, and you punt off your stack, or you make a terrible call because you have escalated tilt. So take a break if needed, and then also study, look up videos on the internet, study your hands, talk to other poker players about the hands that you're playing, try to get better. That's another way to try to help with a downswing. And yeah, that's the kind of tips that I have. Take a break if needed, proper bankroll management, study, go over your hands, talk to better players, and also kind of do what I did last night too, which is don't be afraid to move down in stakes. If you're taking shots at 2-5 and things aren't going your way, don't feel bad about going down to 1-2 and getting some wins underneath your belt. If you're trying to take shots at 5-10 and it's not going your way, go back down to 2-5 or even 1-2. Try to get some wins underneath yourself. Try to feel that confidence. If you're playing 1-2 and there's no other smaller game, maybe buy in a little bit shallower. So instead of buying in for $300, buy in for $200, or go to another casino where the game plays a little bit different or a little bit smaller. Get that confidence back, winning some hands. But that is it for this one. It is a nice day. As I said, we're going to hit the gym. We're going to hit Bellagio later, so that'll be the video after this. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please hit that comment button. Please hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe. And until next time, I'll see ya.